Yarrow.
We're returning to the Yarrow bed. It's been a few weeks and we want to go in now and just look for weeds that are stuck. It's a little bit harder now because the plants are taller, but actually in some ways it's easier because the plants are taller. They stand out. You can see their leaf structure. And it's easier just to reach in. Follow the weeds down to the roots as much as you can, and then pull from the top of that root. Of course, your deep weeds, you're going to have to get in there with a shovel and loosen up the soil. The benefit now of having taller plants is that they will start to keep the weeds in check a little bit better themselves. They don't want weeds growing up through them any more than you do. But see, the weeds know, and they'll get tall just so that they can stand out above your plants, which means they're stealing sunlight from your plants. So you really do want to get in here and clean this out. And even in here, you can see I have a little path. Whoops. I was going to pull in one or two little plants out, but my yarrow is pretty dense that I don't have this problem. So here again, corners and edges are always where my weeds are usually the heaviest and strongest. They're also where they're the easiest to pull. It's that pop. Oh, look at this, man, that pop. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's better than bubble wrap. Get outside today, go find your weeds. You can't see this, but I am looking down at my bed, and you can see the weeds in here. See, this one isn't the same. So these are my yarrow plants. I can tell by the leaf structure. And these are the weeds that are in here growing. See, that's the yarrow. That's the benefit of doing mass plantings sometimes, or group plantings, is it's easier to pick out the weeds. I'll put this back to where you can see. There you go. Most of the weeds in my garden repeat, so I see the same weeds over and over again. I see clover over and over again. I see creeping Charlie over and over again. I see certain trees over and over again. And you'll get used to the weeds in your garden bed too. And the hardest weed to pull is usually a volunteer plant that you're growing someplace else. I'm a sucker for sunflowers growing. Luckily, sunflowers, if they're small enough, are easy to transplant. You get enough root. Tomatoes are also easy to transplant, but I don't usually move them. You can. So I'm just going in here and looking for things like maple trees. I'm going in here and I'm looking for clover. I do believe this is called, oh, and that's another weed. I can't remember the name. If I look it up, I'll check. I'm thinking tickleweed. And it's just that I want this bed to be for my yarrow. I don't want to have it for weeds. I know weeds do have a benefit, but I want to have a nice, pretty mass planting of yarrow. Just like you wouldn't want dandelions growing up through your roses. I don't want this flower growing up through my yarrow. And it's always better if you can get to the base of the plant and pull it than from the top. But sometimes all you've got is the top. So you take it and you just follow it down with your hand. So you get to the base and see this one's all the way over here. Start it out over there and pull as much of the root as you can. The more root you can get, the better. I see a dandelion in here. Yeah, actually, I think that might be a thistle. And those are the best way to get rid of those is from the base. And get as much root as possible. Ta-da! Fill my bucket. Again, if you can see, I follow this to its base. And some things like my woody plants, it's easier. Oh, see, I ended up pulling some regular plant, but at least I got the clover. I'm not worried if I lose one or two. This is a thick planting of them. And I'll actually, the other thing I'll do is go in here and I'll pull out some of the dead leaves, dying leaves, or leaves that just have not gotten enough sunlight to thrive and they're starting to fail. And the reason I do that is because leaves that are not healthy tend to bring disease and pests, because the pests want to eat or will attack those weak leaves. So I'm not going to be perfect about it, but while I'm here, I'm going to pull a couple, see if I have some bad stuff. It's been a weird spring for me. It's been colder than normal, and then we get very hot, so it's almost like a fall or a spring. Well, actually, it is still spring, I guess. It's not summer yet. I just want to get rid of these weeds. So same thing here. I think you can see it. Drop this down just a little bit. Right here, see, is the clover. And if I follow it, if I follow the clover down, oh, where's the camera? If I follow the clover down to the base, I can pull quite a bit of the root. Now, clover will come back. It has an extensive root system. But even with my gloves on, I can feel the difference. I can feel that this plant is woody, and the clover tends to be a softer. Yep, I'm not making you dizzy here. And then again, I'm just going to pull out some of this brown. I want my plants to get some air. If the brown starts to extend past halfway, then I'll start to investigate. But honestly, your plants are just going to have some damage. It's just normal. Maybe a pest came through, and then the pest hunter came through. So then over here you can see, even though I got some of this weed, my issue is grass. So it's usually along the edge. Like I said, my weeds are always along the edge. So I'll just go in. This bed is a little low, so I'll go in. Grass tends to have a stronger root system sometimes, but it's also a clumping root system, so sometimes it's actually easier to pull. We haven't had rain. We're expected rain today, so if you really want the easiest way to pull weeds, have your soil be damp. A damp soil will save you a lot of trouble. I'm seeing all these and I don't even know where they're coming from. I don't want to pull too many plants. And this is how I talk to myself in the garden. Now in this case, the grass just feels different. Look at all this grass. I could get this out of here. This might be why I let it go to seed. But that's okay. The plant is completely savable. Oh, here's my arch nemesis, Creeping Charlie. Not as hated as morning glory or thistle, but it is one of my common weeds. And the benefit of it is it tends to have a strong root system. Now, I can't get my fingers into this soil to really pull the creeping Charlie out like I would like. But like I said, the plant itself will shade the soil and not give the weeds as much of a chance. The grass, on the other hand, is tall and thin, so it's just gonna come up until I get the base of it. But the more I get, the less I will get. The one thing that I've learned with weeds that you do not want to do is you don't want to just come in and weed whack. Use the chippers, the trimmers, whatever, and trim them back. Because sometimes what you end up doing is if your plants grow a little bit slower, you end up giving the weeds a better chance to grow. So using a weed whacker is not always the solution. It's sometimes more, oops. Well, I got the weed, but I also got some plant. It was kind of dense over here anyway, so I'm not, like I said, I'm not too concerned if I accidentally pull plants. Yarrow for me reseeds year after year. There seems to be a ton. Maybe you can see this. There's a ton of little bugs all over this plant. I do not know what they are, but we will search for them and find out what they are. We'll just leave them for now. My go-to solution for an infestation of bugs that doesn't seem controllable by nature. And honestly, this is my yarrow. I'm not as concerned with it, I should say, as say an attack on my tomatoes and even attack on my tomatoes. I'll let those bugs go for a little while. Could be why I'm seeing the damage in here. But these bugs seem to be on top, so maybe they're attacking whatever's attacking my plants. I won't know until I go in and research. And then, even then, I expect to pay a garden tax. I expect to pay a tax to Mother Nature where she gets her cut of my garden. She gets to take some to keep nature going. It's bad enough that I fence my yard and maybe keep some critters out. But I want to make sure that Mother Nature gets paid her fair share. So I will let these bugs stay. Okay, I think I've worked all the way around the bed. But I wanted to give you an update. I realized I had done a video on yarrow and then I didn't follow up. So this is the follow-up for yarrow. You can see how much it's grown. I'll put a little transition in between the things. Again, I don't know what those bugs are. They're kind of black, kind of, I almost think they look a little like an assassin bug, but they're really small. So I don't know if that means that that's what they are or not. So that's why I will not just outright kill them right away. And sometimes I find that maybe I get an infestation on something like my yarrow where I'm really not harvesting it. I'm using it more as a pollinator, that I will leave it and wait for a bird to come along and decimate it, or another kind of bug to come along and decimate it, because then that predator bug will now go into my garden and work on that. So I don't, you know, I see so many new gardeners, they're so panicked when they see bugs, but it's part of nature. It's part of things. And your garden doesn't have to be perfect. See, I can see a ladybug going crazy now. They have ferocious appetites. So maybe she will work on that. I don't see her attacking any of them, but I do see some little mites. Let her go. Okay, that's it, right? She's right next to a weed. Sometimes those weeds just sneak in. All right, that's it for now. That's the update on yarrow. Thank you for watching.